Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, let me start this video off by saying the video that I downloaded Sunday about a heartbreaking video, it got yellow lighted. And I kind of expected that to happen. Sometimes I really feel the need to talk about my recovery. And as try as I might, I still end up saying things that YouTube does not find conducive to putting advertising on. So when a video of mine gets yellow lighted, that means they don't put any advertising on it. It's not favorable for advertising. And that in itself isn't too big a deal, but I don't want to get a lot of those because then they'll start questioning my monetization. Okay, but like I said, sometimes there's just things I really feel I need, I need to talk about this stuff. The channel is Artist in Recovery, and that is my main purpose. So sometimes I just have to throw the dice, and wherever they land, they land. Okay, I want to make my point about how I talked in that video about responsibility and the disease of addiction. And I came across an article about a concern of parents recently, and this goes all the way back to when I was a kid, but recently parents are concerned about a trend with kids and this certain product that is supposed to be used for culinary purposes, like giving whipped cream, putting the air in whipped cream. I believe it's for iced coffee, maybe used for iced coffee. I don't even want to say the name of this because a lot of social media outlets, TikTok even especially, has kind of banned the videos talking about this stuff. The link will be down below, and it'll explain the whole thing about this trend and this particular product and the concern of what's going on. Okay, so I saw this article, and like I've said, I'm 58 years old, going on 59 years old, and I spent over 20 years in addiction, and there's still stuff coming back to me, that I don't remember. This happened about 40 years ago. It's my very first job. Okay, so this relates to this article. It's something I did along the same lines. I was, somebody like me was doing the same thing, and I have to question why I would do something like this. Like in the video, the heartbreaking video I just did 2 days ago or a day ago, I talked a lot about personal responsibility. I hate to say this, but I'm sure that kid, more than likely, that kid asked for this stuff. Nobody twisted his arm. So why does he or why did I feel the need to do this, to feel different? To take these chances. And that's I look back and I see that's how my disease began. And I hated saying that stuff in that video because it sounds kind of, I don't want to say anything against the parents or anything about, because they were blaming whoever gave it to them. And it's really not that. I think, and it worries me because when you blame other people, you're taking away the personal responsibility, and you're taking the focus off the disease of addiction, which is where it needs to be. Okay, so this article down below and this certain product, it reminded me of something that happened. My very first job, I worked at Cumberland Farms. That's a convenience store. I don't know if it's around the whole country, these stores even exist, or if they're still around the whole country, but it was a convenience store. It was one of my very first jobs. I was 16 years old, and I couldn't work the cash register, so I was in the cooler. I was putting up product. I'd mop the floors. I'd clean the windows, stuff like that. And there was a door that went into a big walk-in cooler, and I spent a good amount of my time in there. It was a big walk-in cooler, so I put all the product up on the shelves. It was a big, long shelves, length of shelves, milk, dip, whipped cream, everything. And I spent a good amount of my time in there. And looking back, this is what I used to do. And I totally forgot about this until I read this article. And I questioned why I felt the need to do this. It was the beginning of my addiction, just like how I talked about in the video, about the heartbreaking video, this kid and what happened to him. I don't think anybody twisted his arm. Okay, So we would get product in, and I put the product up on the shelves. And this is what I used to do. And I'm telling you guys this as a cautionary tale. Do not do this. This was bad. I could have, this could have been fatal to me. I'm surprised it wasn't. I never told anybody this. I just remembered this happening. I think I just block stuff like this out because it's embarrassing, and I don't think I even told my friends about this. So we'd get product in, and we'd get whipped cream, in the cans, where you press the button, you shake it, you press the button, whipped cream comes out, and I put it up on the shelves. And we get packs of cardboard boxes full of six at a time. And I would take them out, and I heard that, this what this stuff could be used for, nitrous oxide. And I would pop it open and off one, put it on the shelf, open up next, take the cap off, put the cap back on, put it on the shelf for sale. And inevitably, I feel like such a scumbag saying this, but inevitably, I would see the returns on the counter up in front where people were bringing back the product saying, "Oh, this is flat. It doesn't work." And deep inside, I knew why it didn't work because I was inhaling the gas in the canisters. This one day, I think this is the last day I ever did it. I hope it was. I can't clearly remember, but I was doing this, and I did like all six of them as I put them up on the shelf. And I just remember passing out. And I was in the cooler by myself, and I would be back there for an hour, 2 hours, and the cooler is just barely above 32 degrees. So the people didn't, they expected me to be back there for a while, so nobody was going to come looking for me. And I fell down, and I hit my head on a pallet. The pallets were piled up in the corner by the milk, and I hit my head on the pallets, and I was unconscious for I don't know how long. And like I said, you got to remember this. I'm in there by myself. I'm unconscious. And the cooler is barely above 32 degrees. Looking back, it's a miracle I even survived this. I came to, I kind of staggered out of the cooler. It was a young girl that was a friend of mine that was working in the cash register at the time. It was kind of at night, so it was just me and her. And she knew something was wrong. I told her, I have to leave. I was worried, because I was still bleeding. I kind of hid it from her, and I ended up leaving. And I never went to the hospital, of course. I think I probably went home and smoked a J. Thinking back to the way I was. And I look back at this, and why did I do stuff like this? This was the beginning of my addiction. Nobody twisted my arm to do this stuff. And all I can remember is I wanted to feel different. I wanted to feel euphoria, like now I feel content. I like the way my life is now. And, I don't want to feel, I'm happy with the way I feel. But this was the beginning, the early stages of it, and like I said, it is the disease of addiction. Nobody forced me to do that. And I still wonder why. I remember asking my mother to buy brandy because I was like 13 or 14 years old. And I had heard this story that in the old days that when the kid had a cold or the flu, they'd give him a little shot of brandy or something like that for their throat. And I was like begging my mother to buy brandy when I was like 13 years old and I had a cold, and I look back and it wasn't for the cold. Why was I could blame it on TV. I remember like who was a Reverend Jim from Taxi, or I don't know, all these TV shows would kind of glamorize, the burnouts. Make it look like, they're cool. Or Dr. Johnny Fever from WKRP. There was a whole list of these guys back in this TV set and when I grew up that kind of glamorized that spent thing, but I won't blame it on that. For some reason, I wanted to feel different. All right, fast forward. I realize I still have this disease of addiction and I have to be on guard every day. Now, here's the thing. I didn't make a video Saturday, and there's a reason I didn't make a video Saturday. It has nothing to do with drugs or anything like that. I've been, you guys know I exercise. And my exercise, it's been beautiful here every day, and I hate being inside when it's so nice out. It's like 70 and sunny. We haven't had rain in like 14, 15, 16 days. So I'm outside every day, literally walking or hiking 7 miles a day, lifting weights for an hour or two a day. Believe me, I'm not bragging here. I'm getting to a point. and riding my bike for about 15 miles. And Thursday, I went to an extreme. And, I did all that stuff from about 4 in the morning after I finished the video here, working out with weights, and then on the treadmill for 4 miles, then a walk around town for 3 miles. And then I got on my bike from 10 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. And I didn't have any liquids with me. I didn't have a water bottle or anything. And I got off the treadmill, soaking wet with sweat. After doing 4 miles on the treadmill, got on my bike. And it was hot and humid here that day. And I did about 15 miles on my bike. And I remember, this is just so stupid looking back at it. I was pushing myself, and I could feel the parched, my throat would hurt from being parched, but I just kept pushing myself, because I always think more is better. I got to increase my exercise every day. Like how I used to do it with drugs. Like it was a tolerance. I had to increase it more and more. If a little's good, then more is better. And that's what I did Thursday. That's what I've been doing for years. And I would tell people this. I tell people, I'm kind of addicted to exercise. And everybody would laugh and say, well, it's better than what you used to be addicted to, right? At least it's healthy. Well, Thursday, it was no longer healthy. I kind of excessively dehydrated myself. Friday, I felt sick, man. I had a fever. My head was pounding. I just felt out of it. I felt terrible, and I was excessively dehydrated. And I'm still kind of recuperating right now. I still kind of feel out of it. My appetite was gone. The scary thing was the fever. I didn't realize any of this could happen. I had no idea, but I kept pushing myself more and more. If a little's good, more is better. And I realized I still have this disease of addiction. When it gets to a point where it gets, life-threatening or dangerous, exercising, I'm overdoing it, just like I did 40 years ago when I first started. It's the disease of addiction. It's not because anybody's forcing me or anybody's giving me this or that or telling me to do anything. It's a disease. It's this need to always to go to excess. And, it just makes me realize I'm really thinking about increasing going to 12-step programs, NA and AA, just to, even though this had nothing to do with drugs or alcohol, but obviously I still have this disease, and it would be good. I don't know if there's any exercise, I think there's groups, 12-step programs that deal with eating dysfunctional eating practices or stuff like that, but I'm gonna look that up. But obviously, I overdid it, and I need to be cognizant of that, the disease of addiction. But here's the thing: recovery is possible. I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006. I hope this all made some sense. Though, like I said, I had to be very careful, and I'm sorry about that, because I really want to talk about this in this video. And the link will be down below, and I encourage you to read it, especially if you're a parent, because this stuff is still a popular thing amongst the kids, and it's dangerous. There's a lot of dangers involved in it, as I found out after passing out in the cooler that day. All right, recovery is possible. Have a good Tuesday.